What's happening, everyone? Welcome to the Sportscast. It's me, Andy Grant. I've got Gary Judge with me from Across the Park podcast, and we have got you covered with IGD, our new sponsors. You type in Andy IGD at checkout, you get 25% off. I'm actually rocking one of their Run windproof jackets. It's good gear. I'm actually wearing shorts, believe it or not. As you know,
I've seen that. That's grim. That.
Well, I was doing a talk this morning in school, and I take like my leg off and that for the kids, so that's why I wear shorts in schools. But
you're taking your kecks off in schools. I'm not sure about that.
Wonder where that was going to go with it. Listen, yeah, IGD, it's belter gear I've been wearing the last week or two, with them being our new sponsors, and it's decent. Gary's still waiting on his order. It's coming through. But let's get straight in, as there's loads to talk about, mostly footy, but there are still a few other decent stories that are worth mentioning. We'll start off with a random one. Rugby. Seen that rugby player, Rhys Zammit, I think his name is. He's leaving rugby to pursue a career in NFL.
Well, funny enough, I was actually, before we come into that story, I was on a call with someone. We're taking loads of our students over to Miami in a month or so's time, and we were talking about places that we can, different sports organisations.
Scouse NFL players.
Well, no, different sports organisations and teams we can visit and get a bit of an insight into, sports over there. And I want to say it's the Miami Sharks or something like that. A rugby team over there, and I was how big is? And I was talking to him about it, and he said, well, the latest initiative is a lot of rugby scouts are basically scouting failed NFL players to convert them into rugby players. And US are trying to invest big time in it. In rugby,
I think it'd be easier to go NFL to rugby than it would go rugby to NFL.
Yeah, well, that's a big initiative over there, is the US are scouting failed NFL players to move into rugby.
You can see it, can't you? I think this one in particular, though, mate, I don't think there's no correlation whatsoever going from rugby to NFL. Apart from the ball's the same size, okay.
You're smashing into people, tackling and stuff. And
I'm not being funny. Any rugby fans out there, correct me if I'm wrong, I know there's definitely technique to how to tackle someone, not doubting that. But with regards to, here's a ball, run, and also...
But it's an invasion,
run,
it's an invasion game,
catch.
Isn't it? It's an invasion game, isn't it? As in, and the ball, obviously the shape of the ball and
stuff. That's the only thing. No,
but it's an invasion game. You're trying to get over the line. That's the
but
principles
apart from
of the
being
game.
an absolute unit and pushing people over.
Well, isn't that what it's about?
But the actual ball control of it, completely different.
You don't hardly touch the ball as an NFL player, depending on position you're in. You'll hardly.
Okay, but I don't know this Rhys Zammit, what his position is. But even if he's a wide player in rugby, in rugby union or rugby league, and he's just bombing it down the line with the ball, there's a difference in how he gets the ball.
So I mean, tactically, it's massive.
Yeah, so me and you are playing rugby, I throw the ball to you, you've got hold of the ball, and then you bomb it.
Yeah.
In NFL, you're just running.
That's only the runners. Yeah, exactly. Most people are just staring at someone else, smashing into them,
and I just think it's ridiculous.
If
he makes it, I'll eat my words, but I can't see him having it.
Tactically, is a lot of learning to do, isn't it?
Well, just running and catching the ball.
I would say, I guess.
Because you're catching it from sideways, aren't you, in rugby?
Yeah. No, but he's probably not going to be catching it, is he? He's just going to be stopping and blocking, and I think that's just it's all plays.
He's just big and not quite good. I think
the only thing I'd say is the game is almost, depending on your position, is defined by the plays, the playbook. So as long as you learn the playbook and understand your role within that team, it's not.
Well, I understand that if you're a kicker, like for example, if you're like David Beckham, and then they just bring him on to take a goal kick.
But it's not just that though. No, it depends on the position you are on the pitch, and the playbook. You've just got a particular role in that play.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. I could understand it more if you were a kicker and you happen to be an unbelievable at set pieces. They bring you on for that play, you kick a goal, you come off again.
No, but that's the same point I'm making. If you're a beast in rugby and you're good at blocking people and no one can get past you.
There's got to be other big badass motherfuckers in America. They don't need to be scouting English rugby. Come on,
but again, no. It depends what you're looking for, doesn't it? If you let's say, for instance, you're a team and you've got this whiz coach who's got this boss playbook, and it depends on this position and this player being able to do X, Y, and Z. Doesn't matter what they're doing as long as they can do X, Y, and Z, does it?
But you
could be walking down the street and see some fella digging up the pavement. Wow, he's a beast. Look at him. Look at the way he's lifting Look at the way he's lifting that slab up there. He just threw it the same way that I want him to throw a player.
So on that note, then, is there any other players you think you'd like to see cross over? I was thinking about this. I don't think there's that many, really. I mean, you look at some athletes like Ronaldo, you think he'd probably be decent at a few things.
Oh yeah, he'd be decent at anything. He's just one of them people.
I'm thinking like maybe a massive basketball player could do volleyball, where they just stand at the net and just like...
Oh yeah, all
just
day.
Smack it down.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I've got huge respect for the athleticism, ridiculous athleticism of basketball players. I think most of them could convert into track and field because they're just so quick and so explosive. The same way, again, I think a lot of track and field athletes, particularly on the kind of 200, 400 metres, could probably convert into sports that require runners. Do you know what I mean? And that happens quite a lot in America. They get, particularly in...
like failed on one sport and then throw them yesterday.
Yeah, but a lot of them do athletics in school. Do you know what I mean? And it's the same in this country, isn't it?
Yeah.
I suppose, but if you're looking at sports and games and stuff, if you're a top batsman, if you like, in cricket, surely you've got the similar kind of coordination to a tennis player. Do you know? I know it's technique.
Do you reckon?
The ball's coming at you at that speed and you're having to react and hit it back.
Nah. You're clutching at straws there.
I'm not clutching at straws.
That's cricket bat and a tennis bat.
No, what I mean is you're talking about applying one skill to another sport.
No, I get it. I mean, they might be, but...
I know it's a racket sport.
And they're not as fit, nowhere near as fit as tennis players.
Oh, no, they're not. But the harder thing is being able to...
I suppose the ball comes at you quicker, cricket-wise, do you reckon?
I'd say it does, yeah.
Shorter distance as well, isn't it?
If you became the best returner in tennis... because you were just so good at reading that ball as it's coming towards you. Think of cricket as well, the ball's bouncing at different angles.
But that's like saying you're a baseball player to be good at tennis.
That's, you know what, baseball and cricket is probably a good example.
Baseball there we go. I'll agree with you on that.
Because it is literally, you're in the nets,
it's
aren't
like
you?
0.3 of a second and
you're in the nets, aren't you? You're just trying to connect with the ball. But it's probably the other way around. I think a failed
baseball player.
NBA, NFL, NBA's basketball.
Yeah. NFL is American footy.
What's the national basketball?
It's just called baseball. NBL. National Baseball League.
No, it's not. That's going to do my head in that. Anyway, I think if you're a baseball player,
you'd be alright.
A failed baseball player, I could definitely convert into cricket. But in terms of the high-profile athletes, I don't know.
I want to see Roger Federer taking some cricket matches now. Now we've just mentioned it. Then basketball.
Yeah, he could probably play for years, couldn't he, cricket?
On basketball, bit of a mad stat for you. I got no news for you in basketball. Just this one of the craziest stats I think I've ever seen in sport. LeBron James has played against 35% of players in NBA history.
Because he's transcended through so many decades and whatever.
From when the NBA started to now, he has competed against 35% of the players.
That's unreal, yeah.
How crazy is that?
You know what though? There would have been, probably 10 years ago, there would have been some Premier League players who could probably boast that stat. Like Ryan Giggs would have played against something like 80% of Premier League players, wouldn't he, before he retired?
Someone should do that on Ryan Giggs, to be fair,
Yeah.
Obviously. But I mean, basketball, I just think though, I don't know when the NBA became kind of started, but you imagine,
it's the 70s, but obviously there wasn't as many teams and as many players, so a bit like football, they didn't have loads of subs that they swapped over, so because of that there was less players.
Do you think though, between like say the 70s and now, you got any random 10 fellas in a room, and 3 or 4 of them went, oh yeah, I played against LeBron.
Yeah.
That's mad when you think of that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is,
like that's what, over 50 years, say, if it was the 70s, whenever. But yeah, just thought that was a mad stat.
That is mad.
Did you see what's going on the snooker this week as well? Been a bit of a spat. Obviously, Ronnie, fair play, proved what the GOAT he is. He wins his 8th Masters Championship, but he's playing against Ali Carter.
Yeah,
he got a bit sour.
Yeah, he lost the plot a bit, didn't he?
Ali Carter accused him. Well, he had a bit of a pop at the crowd and just said, every time you play against Ronnie, you play against the crowd. But
you know what? We were talking about this in our group, and you do get this. I get the feeling now. Snooker needs a little bit of it. I know there is. What's that alternative? Something like Powerball or something like. There's another variation of snooker which is a bit like 2020, isn't there? But I get the feeling it needs a little bit of a darts injection. Snooker. I think the crowd needs to almost get a bit. I think the whole thing. Quiet, please.
They need a 16-year-old to come and smoke everyone.
Well, not just that. I just think like I think there needs to be a bit of an acceptance that if you're gonna continue to fund the players the way you are, and obviously Ronnie's talking about to get loads of money going out to Asia to play compared to playing in the UK, like just people are just not buying up those, it's not as certainly the earlier rounds, they're not selling out. Do you know what I mean? Even at the Masters and the world, the world. So,
and I think as well, Ronnie come out and said, the Ali Pally, you might have had a piss in the corner or something, because Ronnie was saying it stunk down there or something. He said because
everyone's pissed up.
That's what I mean. And he's like,
weeks before,
he's like, the place stinks. It's cold. It's dingy. He goes out there and wins his 8th title. He's the only one who really has any, whether you love him or hate him, he's the only one who's got something about him which makes you kind
of an entertainer.
Look at the headlines. And the headlines that were made this week is Ali Carter accused him of snotting on the floor. I don't know what that was. Yeah, and a little pop of the crowd and stuff. And then Ronnie come back and said, no one likes him or never liked him.
Yeah.
Just this back and forth, turned a bit sour. And then Ronnie's had a bit of a X-rated rant on him, and it's apparently it's still going on now.
It is, yeah, it is.
But again, I think it feeds back into your point perfectly. That's
just
probably
made me think there needs to be a bit more needle. I think.
Well, that's
between the players, between the fans, and the crowd and the players. Players showing a little bit of charisma themselves, but it just gets quiet, please. All that.
And you think if that hadn't have happened, we would have went. Ronnie wins again. Oh wow, he's the GOAT. Yeah, he is the GOAT. Yeah.
That's it.
And that's
Nothing else said. Yeah.
Whereas now, because there's a little bit of controversy,
opens a little bit of a can of worms,
But yeah, he's back in action already, which sounds mad. I mean, it's thick and fast to snooker at the minute. He's in the what's it called, the Grand Prix, I think, at the moment.
Yeah.
He's playing. Talking of other players that are back out in action already is Luke Littler. We've just mentioned him. Then he is playing Thursday. So by the time you guys are watching and listening,
Bahrain.
It will have been last night. Yeah, 6 o'clock Thursday night, Bahrain. He's 1-7 to beat Man Lok Lung, and he's now 31 in the world.
He went straight into the 32. That's why he was eligible to play.
It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, now,
anyone was who got to the final of the World Championship.
But I just think he's he's doing his GCSEs 6 months ago, and now he's
been active, hasn't he? As you'd imagine, he's a Man United fan. He was at the United game, wasn't he?
Ferguson
with
there,
Rooney and Ferguson and all that. He's been down to Warrington Wolves as well, meeting all his he said it was his heroes. He went and watched them a lot when he was younger. So fair enough, he's making the most of it, and it's interesting. As you said, as we've all said, it's a different type of pressure now, isn't it?
Well, I think a lot of people agree that the little reel we put out of you basically saying money will talk, and he will no doubt get pushed. And I think we predicted it 24 hours earlier that he'd be in the Premier League darts, which he is. And it's like you said, it's just going to be really interesting now to see how his career, not only as a kind of as a darts player, but also just as kind of social media activity and what he does, whether his appearance changes, because what I've found with this, and I'm not trying to blow smoke up man or your ass here, but sometimes you find you have an opinion on, and I don't just mean solely me and you, but you'll have an opinion, whether it's on the podcast or with your mates, or it gets murmured, and then 6 months later it kind of comes to fruition a bit. And I think one thing which we've mentioned, which not really has been mentioned that much, is his weight. And I think whether it's at this tournament or 6 months or a year's time, the media will jump on the back of, this isn't healthy for a 16, 17-year-old. And
there'll be the suggestion, is he a role model? Is this the type of... Obviously, in terms of his skill, his dart skill, absolutely, and the commitments he must have given to that. But the jokes have gone round, haven't they? He's been in the pub all his life and all that, and it's like, is that really what we want our young children or whatever, or aspiring athletes or sports people to look up to, is to go, well, look at him. Doesn't even eats chippies and doner kebabs and that every day. And
well, that's what I was a bit like, being a bit hypocritical really, because I'm a big advocate. Listen, we're on social media by doing this, I guess, but in general, when I go into schools, do motivational talks, and kids sometimes ask, how do we get a blue tick? And I want to be a gamer, I want to be a streamer, and I think, fuck me, get out and be a kid, you know what I mean? Go and play footy, go outside. And I sound really old now, but it's kind of aspiring to sitting behind the computer. Although this is sport, it's still not the greatest of aspirations.
The fact that he's got to the final of the World Championships and he's about 20 stone or something, he's a big lad, isn't he?
And he's 16, talking about vaping, eating kebabs and living in pubs all his life. It's nothing against him, fair play. You just won a couple $100,000 at 16, unbelievable, made up for you. But not every kid needs to go down that route, is basically.
No, that's it. Yeah, and
But it'd be interesting how he gets on. If we just talk about his darts, he's 1-7, so straight away going in as a really strong favourite tonight. And yeah, next week I have to see how he gets on. It's whether he'll handle the pressure and this new thing, because he went into that tournament, didn't he? No one knowing anything about him, and now we all know about him.
And in fairness, he's shown he can handle the pressure, because even after he won his first round match, people were going, he's got a chance of winning this, and he did take Everton in stride. Even in the final, he didn't play poorly. You know, Luke Humphries just blew him away. Yeah. So there's nothing to suggest he won't handle the pressure. I just think it's just interesting. Again, you know, the amateur circuit, the youth circuit is completely different to the professional circuit. The professional circuit's relentless. Like I said to you, you know, the little colds and bits he's maybe picking up in the amateurs didn't really matter, because he probably wasn't playing another tournament for another few weeks, and he can get over it. He's now going to be expected to be at his best every single week. Yeah.
And he might get away with it at first because he's young, but he'll soon catch up, I would imagine. Gonna have to bring it up. Don't have a go at me. But talking about young athletes who get built up and built up and built up and then don't deliver, Emma Raducanu. A screenshot, you got dead excited. She come through a first round match against the American. Got beat in the second round. Yeah. 6-4, 4-6, 6-4, I think.
It's not, look, it's not, she wasn't disgraced, was she? Do you know what I mean? She was beaten. It wasn't like she was you know, annihilated or nothing. But
no, I think it was 2-1, but she did get beat by 96th in the world. You know,
but where's she in the world like that?
300
again,
odds.
It's the fact that we're judging her based on that win still.
No, and that's the thing.
Not where she is.
It's become such a running joke with people messaging me on bloody Twitter and Instagram and on the pod. I'm not against Emma. I'm against everyone building her up. You know, she was on the Vanity Fair magazine. She's going to red carpet dinners. She's doing this. She's done that. She won the US Open. Brilliant. You know, fair play to her. I said it after that, though. I'd be surprised if she wins another one, though. And
I think, in that sense, I think tennis is a little bit sort of crossover sports. I think it's a little bit like golf, where on a given week, 2 weeks or whatever, maybe a bit longer for the tennis tournament, any professional player, particularly if you take maybe the top 3 or 4 out of there, and maybe there's a few little shock results, any player has got the ability to turn it on over a short period of time. You find
a bit of form, and that's
and you know what it's like. You see it in football, the FA Cup games. You see a non-league team come and play a League One team or a Championship team, and on that given day they can look as good as them. Following week though, they'll get beat by Doggins United 2-0, and they'll be crap. So it's the consistency and the ability to repeat that performance and to do it over and over and time again, and to do it in different environments and against different players, and that's the measure. And I think the bigger question, which is what you've always posed, is she really that good, or has she just had a really good week? We've got carried away. She's then lost the plot a little bit, thinking that she is, you know, she is everything. You know,
and by the way, if you have won that tournament, why would you not dine out in Everton?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Because you don't know if it's going to come about again.
No.
So I don't knock if it's dining out on it. I kind of knock which isn't her fault, but everyone around her, do you know what I mean? And gutted she's not obviously living up to it at the minute. But neither is the British number one, Katie Bluster.
I did say that. Like, we didn't even know her name, let's be honest. Until like you looked into it in the last episode, thinking they could meet, and it'd be interesting. And the first thing I said is she's probably rubbish. No problem.
She got beat as well.
Yeah.
Beat by Chinese girls. I mean, what's that say to the state of British tennis, though? Do you know what I mean? I don't think it's ever been, apart from Andy Murray.
No, it's
never really been.
I was just going to say that. It's not been. The LTA have not had near enough money. I mean, they could have done. You'd think that the money that Wimbledon brings in, they should do. And obviously, it's a huge, you know, for particularly those periods of time, and it's a huge spectacle, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
You know, it brings in a lot of tourism.
The whole country goes mad for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
It brings in a lot of tourism. People travel from all over the world to come to London for those couple of weeks. And
I've drank Pimsbury, Andy Murray's Mar at Wimbledon. There you go.
And
who's the dancer who she used to dance with on Strictly Come Dancing?
No idea.
Him, him, and Andy Murray's Mar had a little jug of Pims. Honestly, lad.
Only you could have a story like that. But yeah, back to that. There's not been enough investment in British tennis for us to expect a return.
No.
And if anything, the likes of Andy Murray and Raducanu was just a bonus. And let's be honest, the pair of them were brought up outside of England. That's why he was successful. They weren't brought
do you know what? Do you reckon it's got anything to do with the weather?
System. Oh yeah, of course it is. That's why they all go to America and Spain to to do the development team.
Well, Murray he's out obviously, and he doesn't reckon he'll ever play in the Australian Open again.
It's surprising.
And Novak was through. He won 3-1 against the outsider. I think it might have even been a wild card actually. But he comes through 3-1. Got a few wrist problems from his recent injury, and had a bit of argument with the crowd. At one point, he said, "Come and say it to me face."
As always.
But I think, you know what? I want Novak to win. He's my favourite tennis player. I still think he will win, but I think he's evens. I wouldn't be touching him at that price. And I think the only little doubt you've got about him now is those injuries creeping in.
Yeah, well, that's it, isn't it? You know, if you were a betting person, you'd definitely put that as too big a risk. You've just said then, you know, it only takes someone to have a good bit of form for 2 weeks. And I think there are enough players in that competition that you could cause them problems and could certainly flare up that injury by just putting them under pressure.
And if he's got that injury flaring up in the first round...
Yeah.
Definitely
when you'd be lying, isn't it, if you were...
Yeah. On the golf then, you got... did you see McIlroy's miss?
Oh, them last few holes.
Oh my God.
Typical McIlroy, that, you know.
So he was going into
so many tournaments down the years that he finishes in the top 10, the top 5, doesn't get over the line. Yeah. So many tournaments that he's leading going into the last day that he doesn't win.
Well, he was joints with Tommy Fleetwood. And
it's
then
great that Tommy's done the job.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. But I mean, McIlroy's first shot...
He was 5 feet away and three putters.
Three or 4 maybe.
3 putters. I mean, that'd be embarrassing for me, and I'm crap at golf.
Yeah, which give Tommy Fleetwood the win. Just thought it was mad. Another crazy story from it as well. The golf this week. It's a guy called Tom Whitney. He's the new guy on the PGA Tour. Used to be in the US Air Force. He's turning pro at 34.
Shows how little he's doing in the military, doesn't it?
Do you know what though? You know, if you are decent at sport,
you said this a lot,
you become a tracksuit soldier. You're getting paid to be a professional sportsman. And the standard I know in football is really good. So, good effort to Tom Whitney there. And then the other little rumblings I heard was obviously Liv and PGA are coming together. And I think the best that Rory McIlroy's hoping for now, we spoke a little bit about last week about him kind of coming down a little bit on his initial stance. He's just basically hoping for the best, some sort of Champions League style, Liv v PGA.
And you know what? I think that's probably what they wanted, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think that's Liv. I think that's something that Liv were looking to do by starting to wrestle some of the players. They found the alliance now, and I don't think that'll be far away.
Yeah. So that'll be something exciting to look forward to. And before we get on to footy, because
just going back to that, I think again, seeing it in a different format would be good, where it's less holes. Making it really...
It'd make me more interested in it, definitely.
I think doing right, 5-hole shootout between these two, and that way you can get more kind of more little matches in a certain day. Even saying things like we're going to choose 5 holes in the 18, there's kind of a bit of a draw on it.
Yeah,
you could end up with 5 par 5s, and it's like that plays into one player's hand.
Yeah. I'd be well up for that. I'd be definitely more invested into it.
Yeah.
And then last bit on boxing before we jump into footy, because it might be quite animated football. We had boxing, unfortunately, this week. Callum was defeated by Beterbiev. There was rumblings which come out afterwards. Well,
come out before it.
A little bit before
it last week, didn't I?
And then I think Tony Bellew was the first one who come out and basically said, this Beterbiev, he's 39 and he's getting stronger and fitter and
more powerful. Yeah.
He kind of stopped short from saying he's a drugs cheat, but he kind of said everything but that. Which then forced people to jump on the bandwagon of Tony, saying, why weren't you coming out like this when Conor Benn got done and all that. But I've heard Paul Smith this morning as well on TalkSport mention it, kind of allude to it as well.
Liam Smith was very explicit, saying he said he's got more testosterone than all 4 of us put together.
Well, Paul made a really interesting point. I thought Paul Smith spoke great on TalkSport. He's talking about getting a boxers union going.
Yeah, that's they've launched that this week.
Yeah, I thought so. He's coming out talking about that. And Paul Smith makes a great point. He says, I'm only, I think, 3 or 4 years older than Beterbiev. He went, I'm making getting out of bed. He is, 3 or 4 years younger. Had a very similar career in boxing wise as in fights. And he's just looking stronger and fitter. And, listen, he might have more testosterone naturally. Who knows? But the fact is, Callum didn't seem to land a punch on him, did he? To prevent him in any way.
No, and look, I'm absolutely far from going to be critical at all of Callum. I thought that he represented himself as well as he could. I thought he gave it his best.
So gracious in defeat, by the way.
Oh, he always has been. I think he always will be. And I think it was almost like heartbreaking listening to him.
Yeah.
So he said, genuinely said, "Look, I thought I was the best. I've got to accept now I'm not." I personally thought the tactics, not from Callum, from the coach, could have been better. And look at that, that's not me claiming to be anywhere near Buddy McGeer's level of expertise. Again, just as an observer, I thought that there maybe should have been more of an instruction from him to just get behind that jab and work and double jab a little bit more to just stop Beterbiev from beating him to the punch, because that seems to happen too often. Obviously, Callum's famed for his combinations and that left hook to the body he tries a few times, and the he threw plenty of combinations, but I just felt like they got absorbed. And the big thing that was just constantly peppering Callum was just that left. He just beat him to the left all the time. And Callum's obviously very tall, and he must have, and he has got a longer reach than Beterbiev. I just thought that just doubling up on that jab would have maybe just stopped that accumulation, because it was every time.
Callum turned around and said that he just felt like he was getting touched all the time.
Yeah,
and his heavy touching just all the time.
They were heavy touching, weren't you? And that's it. And that's what I feel like. He each said that I felt like I was getting touched all the time. So I just felt watching it that just try and cut that touching down by you touching him first. But again, we're not seeing what's in front of Callum. No. We're not seeing it from the corner.
I thought what Buddy did do well is he jumped in. I thought when Callum was going to get up for the second time.
He's brave. Everyone in that family's brave, and there was no way he was going to not try and fall on the sword or be able to fall on the sword. You're right, Buddy McGeer's seen there was no way back for him in the fight. There was no way
not
merit
to gain, was there?
No merit in getting up. So,
but I mean, how well has he represented, and the whole family? The city. So really proud of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And someone else who's going to represent the city this weekend is Tasha. Natasha, she fights this weekend. And already, though, a little bit of spice has come up. The opponent, she's been arguing that Tasha's wearing a man's cup, giving her an unfair advantage. So basically...
Yeah, I know what the cup is, yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of coming up. So it's basically less of an area for it to kind of hit in the stomach and the body. Just mind game started already. And
did she do it then? Wasn't she wear one then?
Yeah, but I think looking into this, Tasha's got she's risking so much compared to her opponent, who's not really risking much. Well, her opponent's coming up 2 weight divisions, so if she gets beat, she's like, well, what you'd expect to came up 2 weight divisions. Tasha's risking all the belts. I think that her opponent's got to free it, and it's a lot of pressure on Tasha, I think.
Yeah, but at the same time, what else has Tasha got to prove? There wasn't really any more fights out there without her kind of going up again.
The kind of Clarissa Shields fight is kind of getting spoken about if she comes through this.
Yeah, and that's it. I think it was a bit too early to jump straight into the Clarissa Shields fight. I personally think she'll be a little bit too heavy-handed for her, to be fair. So I think Tasha will be all right, but. No,
you're talking like as it's going to be like a walk in the park.
Not a walk in the park. I just think over the course of the fight, I think the natural weight she's got on her, and the fact she's a bit more comfortable at this weight. It looks like what's her name? What's her opponent's name again? It looks to me, when I was looking at the kind of the pad work and stuff he's doing, she looks a bit heavy and a little bit like. It doesn't quite look as easy as she, it doesn't look like she's moving as easy as she did at the low weight. But no, it'll be interesting. I don't personally think. Look, it's going to be a tough fight for her, but I think she'll be all right.
And the last one, which we will we'll talk more about it as it comes up. But on the Fury Usyk card, you've got Park fighting Zhang and our own Nick Ball, which is massive news for him. Massive.
Yeah, it's a really good match as well, in the sense that I don't think Nick's going to find it easy to just bulldoze it through him. Very awkward. He's got a very awkward style, and he'd be looking to try and one of the more unorthodox fighters, to be fair. And it's not going to be easy for Nick Ball to hit him, and he's not going to be looking to try and. It's not going to be a war of attrition. I don't think that like some of the fights have been that Nick Ball's had. So very tough test, but. What I want to say about that though, credit to the Saudis for getting the 2 big promoters to come together, because
now they're even talking about having 5 versus Eddie's.
But it's 5v5. It's a 5v5. So every one of those fights is a Queensbury versus a Matchroom fighter. And again, this wouldn't have happened if it weren't for the Saudis. For years, they've just bitched about each other. Eddie ain't even said 6 months ago, I've never even spoke to Frank Warren in my life. How mad's that?
Yeah.
And now that they're sharing a car, they're sitting together,
it's funny what and joking. Truckload of money will do, isn't it?
Yeah, but look, they've literally, I reckon they've turned around and said, we're sick of this. We can't make the fights we want to make or we can't see the fights we want to see in our country unless you two sort your shit out.
So do it now.
And they've done it, and it provides what I would say is the best card we've seen in a long time.
A March not too far away. Right. Get on to the crux of it, football. How's the blood pressure? All right? You're all right to talk about footy for a bit?
Fine.
Okay. First off, I think you actually said it on social media this week. Where have we come in football where we're not actually talking about moments of brilliance anymore on that pitch? It's either bad refereeing decisions, VAR technology, dodgy owners, FFP, points deductions. They're the 5 things we talk about every week. Not just us on this podcast, but Sky Sports, social media. When was the last time we talked about a boss goal, boss bit of team play, a great, substitution?
We talk about it, but it gets overlooked and dominated. Like, for instance, we're recording on Thursday. Everton plays in a FA Cup replay last night. We won. Someone asked me about it today, and I was like, you know what? I was like, it's so far away from my priority right now in terms of what I'm concerned about or even happy about. It's Liverpool never even played this week, but that stupid programme with Michael Owen and Howard Webb come out talking about a match that happened a month ago about how Arsenal's handball was in fact handball and should have been a penalty. It brings it up. So Liverpool weren't even playing and I was already angry. And how hilarious is it, right, that they bring in a new piece of technology, VAR, right, and they think, we're not sure about this. What we'll do is we'll make a TV programme to just talk about how shit it might be. Do you know what I mean? That assesses and highlights all the crap.
We've brought in a new bit of technology and we've now had to make a TV programme that will talk about the mistakes that new bit of technology are making.
And how we're going to try and improve it,
When would you, as a businessman, when would you ever say, right, guys, we're going to bring in this new technology, right, but every Friday morning over coffee, we're going to talk about how that technology failed. You just wouldn't do it.
No.
And that's literally the world we're living in right now in the Premier League. So, I mean, we'll go on to, we'll start off with that. We've just mentioned it.
But the irony is, not the irony, that, it is the irony. It's probably getting more watches and views and shares and stuff than any other show on TV, and that shows how many people care about it. We've said for years, whether it goes back to the papers and whatever, they'll print whatever people want to read and whatever people will buy. The same way that Sky or whatever will broadcast whatever people want to consume, and people are consuming it and people are sharing it.
They are.
People are talking about it.
You're right, they are, but I think short term, because I know I'm falling more and more out of love with football. I mean, the fact that we're just not talking about football anymore is the bit that's killing me. I mean, and you've got, I'm going to moan about the handball. I mean, there's a lot bigger problems at Everton, but even just that this week, we'll talk about Man City in a minute as well, their comeback. That Arsenal game was a game that, we should have won, and we didn't. It happens a month ago, you kind of get over it, and you think, what, as a Liverpool fan, listen, we're top of the league, happy days still. But then you see Man City playing against Newcastle, De Bruyne coming back from injury, having a worldie, and then you start thinking of games where we drop points and you think, we should have had that, and then you get reminded of this adversity that you've had to, and you're like, it just winds you up even more. And I think although you're right in what you're saying, it gets more eyes to the subject. I think over a long period though, people will start.
No, I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's the reason that show's been introduced and encouraged, if you like, by the broadcasters, because so many people are talking about it. And it's dominating so much of the press. Like, we can get more out of this as a broadcaster. We can milk this even more.
I don't know. Apart from that reason, which I totally agree with, apart from that reason to just milk more eyeballs onto this, conversation, what else are they, like, I'd made peace with it. I'd forgot about it. It was gone. I don't know what they're getting out of saying, oh yeah, you know what? Hey, you should have had a pen there,
Yeah.
I know you didn't get one.
Yeah.
But you should have had one.
And you're right.
It's infuriating.
What's the point of that unless they go, okay, and because we've highlighted it, this is going to happen. Yeah. And you're like, okay, right.
Liverpool are now going to get 3 points.
Yeah, or Liverpool are now going to get a VAR point, which you can get X amount of, you know what I mean? Something like that. Where it's like, okay, fair play. Yeah. That's boss. That
if you get 10 VAR points by the end of the season, that equates to 1 extra point in the Premier or something.
Well, yeah, something like that. That's, you know what? That's stuff where you go, I want to tune into this programme because hopefully we'll get a VAR point.
Well, because Liverpool have had it now twice against Spurs and Arsenal. 2 of the big rivals, 2 big games. They've got beaten one and drew the other, where they probably should have won both, and they haven't. and it's been highlighted by a fucking programme with Mike Lowen and Howard Webb saying, hey, you know what?
Well,
hey, you should have had 3 points there.
One of Everton's fan groups, I don't know if you've seen this, wrote basically a report to the PGMOL, like sent it, whatever it was, email, however it was done. Howard Webb actually came on Twitter, tagged the fan group into it and said, we've received your report and I'll be reviewing it with my colleagues. And I was like, on one note, I was like, fair enough, fair play, you know, he's acknowledged it, blah, blah. The report was basically saying things like, we've now had whatever amount of games where we've had an incorrect decision against us by VAR. We haven't had a penalty in like 2 years or something. In that time, X amount of teams have had penalties against us. In those games, before you start saying, oh, that's because teams have been better than you, out of the games where we've conceded penalties, we've actually had a higher XG than the other teams. So you can't say that we haven't been. So it's like kind of saying how when we've had more games when we've had a higher XG than the opposition, and therefore we've been in the box a lot more than the opposition. Have we had no penalties in the same time? We've had 12 penalties against us. And I said to my mates, I said, the fact he's acknowledged that now, I would not be surprised to see us get a penalty this weekend. And we were almost in the match going, okay, I can't wait for this penalty. Yeah. We didn't even have like anything like a shout for a penalty. But the irony is as well, you'll obviously seen our game. If you didn't see our game, you'll have heard about the fact there was about an 8 minute delay on the Villa goal. Villa scored early in the first half, or midway through the first half. It was offside. It was incredibly close. We took about 8 minutes on it, and obviously disallowed the goal. It was so close you could have given it. And I actually said to and it sounds mad this, but most people are in agreement. I said, you know what? Even if this goal gets disallowed, I would sooner them in future them get a goal and get on with the game, because this is just ruining the match. Horrible. Like 6 to 8 minutes, and I actually felt sorry for the Villa fans, and some of our fans were joining in them, like slagging VAR, singing. It was like, you know what? I agree. Even though you should just. We didn't even, you know, like when it first come out, you're cheering, oh, hey, you're not singing. It wasn't even that. Everyone just went, oh.
Do you know the other thing which is a bit mad coming off subject of the VAR? Well, not so much off subject, but the FA Cup, you know, a competition in itself, has only got VAR in the Prem games and not in.
It's wrong.
How is that allowed?
One, it's wrong, but two, what's been great about it is every game that hasn't had VAR and you've enjoyed watching it.
Yeah, brilliant.
The commentators have talked about it, the fans have commented on it, the players have even commented on it.
It's highlighted.
You said that there's no indecisiveness. You're thinking, I'm going for that tackle for the right reason, not thinking, ooh, will I get pulled up on it? I'm going and attacking the ball, thinking, I'm not half thinking, am I offside? The linesmen are performing better, the referees are performing better. Do
you know what? You know what VAR's done as well? It's made the refs get scrutinised, I think sometimes unfairly, because you know if it happens in 90 minutes...
couldn't agree more.
In the speed of play, a ref might miss something and you go, you know what happened that quick? I wasn't looking. Sorry,
I feel sorry for the refs.
Now, you know, you make one bad mistake because of social media and this VAR and this and that. They're getting hammered over it for weeks, and it's like...
But think of it, not just that, because I think that's happened over time since we've had technology with TVs. I think the biggest problem is, if you're a referee, there's no point in making a decision. So you make a decision, say you give a penalty, and your colleague says, wasn't a pen that, you know, and you're getting forced to look at your own mistake, and you're going, yeah, it wasn't a pen, you look like a divvy. If you don't give it, you're thinking... I'm best not giving it, because someone might tell me, and all I can say is I didn't see it.
Yeah, and a minute later I'm going to get a thing in me saying, lad, stop.
And all I can say is, sorry, I didn't see it. Now I have seen it. It's a penalty, therefore.
There'll be no doubt referees are thinking like that.
Definitely they're not. But then the other way of, like, the reason that causes so many problems is the referee, after that incident happens, let's say the referee hasn't given the penalty, play carries on. As you say, the referee's not watching the game then. He's thinking, I'm waiting for me, I'm listening to my colleague, I'm not even watching the game anymore. Whatever's going on, I'm not watching. And then his colleague says to him, did you see that? And you're thinking, what do I say here? Am I lying to you? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
There's gonna be points now where they're going to say, clearly the ref's looking at it. How can you say that? You know what I mean? It's almost forcing referees to lie, to cheat themselves.
Yeah.
And more than anything else, it's encouraging them to not make decisions
anymore. It's like a subconscious bias, isn't it, almost?
Yeah, it is. It is. That's exactly
and the thing on the VAR as well, you know, how can you have a decision maybe in a game, I don't know, Stockport or whatever, where it's, you know, a clear red card or a clear penalty, clear handball, doesn't get seen, and you'd have the exact same instance
in the same competition
at Anfield or Goodison down the road.
And it's not right.
It's a joke. So I just think that
it's
FA
not
Cup
a fair
weekend,
competition.
No, I know.
And we're obviously going to come on to FFP in a minute. The same thing. The rules aren't the same. The rules don't seem to be the same. The rules are unclear. Now, I'm not, obviously you're going to ask me about Everton and the latest kind of charge against us. Richard Masters come out for the first time. I mean,
we'll talk about Everton now then.
He's been speaking a lot. Richard Masters, obviously, for those who don't know, he's effectively the CEO of the Premier League. And he come out this week. Interesting comments, obviously, further backlash from Evertonians, from neutral fans saying, how's this right that, Everton have got another charge? You still haven't, responded to their appeal yet you're throwing more points at them. The irony of that, and you look at it and you go, yous are stupid. Yous are creating the biggest rod for your back. It's unbelievable, but I'll come back to that in a second. He made a comment saying, look, this is about the fan. The league is nothing without the fans, therefore we have sympathy with the fans that, Everton fans, for example, being deducted points, it's not their fault, blah, blah, blah. My first reaction to that was, why don't you tell us the rules then? Why, if you're saying it's not fair on the fans and the fans, blah, blah, blah. Because he made a good point, which then encouraged people to kind of fire back at him. He said, we wouldn't be fair to the fans of every other club if we didn't enforce the rules on Everton. And I think that's a completely fair point. And by the way, if when it all washes over and we get to see all the evidence on both sides and it's found that Everton were in breach and it's black and white, I'll be the first person to say you can get to fuck, I'm not supporting you anymore.
But you have been in breach though?
Well, we'll come back to it in a minute, but let me just finish on Richard Masters for the first instance. He said that it's about the fans and the fans need to know the truth, and the fans on all teams deserve to be treated fairly, blah, blah, blah. If you're, let's say for instance, use a joint, just bear with me on this, you're probably thinking, where am I going with it? If you use a joint top with Man City, right, and he's on the same goals for, the same goals against, the first thing that every fan or kind of, anorak could do, let's get the rule book out, let's see what happens if blah, blah, blah happens. Where's the rule book for FFP? Where's the rules of what happens in this situation? Apart from the whole 105 million over 3 years, where's the rules around the judicial process, around appeals? Where's the rules around like the mitigating circumstances, if there are any? There is none. That's not fair. So you're talking about trying to be fair to the fans by applying the rules, which I agree with. Yet the fans don't even know what the rules are, apart from the rolling fee of.
But even if the fans, not all the fans would know the rules of the FFP, would they? Let's be honest.
But why shouldn't they? It's a rule that's interfering with the competition. So going back to the judicial process, right? There's a chance. All they've said at the moment is that a points deduction will be applied in season. All they've said about the appeal is that the points deduction might get reduced in season. It's bringing the competition into complete disrepute. How if you're a Luton, Sheffield United, and who else is in there? Luton, Sheffield United and Burnley. If you're their fans, you don't even know whether you're going to be in the relegation zone, out of the relegation zone. It's like the okey cokey.
I get that, right? The only thing I would say to you on that though is I think, yeah, you've made some, fair enough points yet that it's not maybe stated as black and white, but you wouldn't even be bothered with this rule book if your own club was run properly.
Oh no! Listen, I'm not. I am not for a minute defending Everton because I do believe obviously we were campaigning and everything against our owners and our board last year. We know as much as anyone else that our board are not fit. However, if you're saying, as Richard Masters of the Premier League, that the fans deserve clarity, the fans deserve this, the fans deserve that, then allow us to make that decision. We can't at the moment. We don't know whether to support the club or to condemn the club because we don't know what's actually going on.
You've made a good example about not knowing the rules and the Premier League, making a rod for their own back.
It's cloak and dagger though.
But you know what it feels like a little bit though, right? Again, you wouldn't be bothered about this if you never broke the rules, and it feels a little bit like, you imagine, right? You're speeding on the motorway, right? The speed limit's 70 miles an hour, and you're like, fuck it, I'm going 100 mile an hour, right? So you're breaking the rules, right? You're breaking them, but you go 105 miles an hour. You get pulled over by the police and you're thinking, well, I'm going a little bit over, but give me 3 points, fine. And they say, oh no, it's an automatic ban now.
Yeah.
And you're going, whoa, I didn't know the rules on that.
No, but that's not what I'm saying here.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying here. No, that's not what I'm saying here.
But you wouldn't need to worry about whether it's a 3-point ban, whether it's a speed awareness course, or whether you're banned if you were under 70, would you?
No, but you don't.
I understand what you're saying. But the way but a little bit of blame for the Premier League on how they've gone about it. But before we even get to that point, if you
back
the
to
rules,
your point then around speed, and your speed, and this is a bit of a bizarre, but there is some bizarre mitigating circumstances, by the way, which how the club have handled
you could argue, my missus in the back about to give birth, I need to go to the hospital. That would be the mitigating circumstances.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. But
yours is building a new stadium.
Yeah, but it's infrastructure. It's not building a new stadium, by the way. That's allowed. You're allowed to build a new stadium. You're allowed to build training facilities. It's the loans and the way that we financed it.
But you have admitted that, though, haven't you?
No, we've said...
You have admitted wrongdoing. In whatever those mitigating circumstances are, you have admitted still, despite of all that, you have held your hands up.
Yeah, but... Yeah,
and that's what I'm saying. I get what you're saying about the Premier League have gone about it the wrong way.
No, the second one, no, we haven't. We've said we've submitted it's called a PSR or whatever, which is basically a calculation before we. So it's a bit like we've all, both me and you, being self-employed and stuff, and you do your self assessments and whatever. Is the equivalent what they've asked Everton to do, and all the clubs is submit a calculation on where they believe they are. Not like where they are when everything's been accounted for and stuff. It's like a quick fag packer calculation for us there, and just let us know if you think you're over. And we've said, based on your little Excel spreadsheet you give us, we probably are over, therefore it needs to be investigated. And they've just went, bang, you're guilty then. Like, it being done within a couple of days. Not okay, provide us with more evidence,
you know what else
and then we'll decide if you're guilty.
And I get what you're saying. Listen, the Premier League got a lot to answer to.
They've gave us, let me continue here. They've gave us criteria that we're meant to judge our finances on. They've not asked us for our full accounts. They've said, based on these questions we're asking you, give us a total at the bottom. And based on them questions they're asking us, we're over. But we wouldn't be over if you actually brought in the kind of underpinning reasons for it. Do you know what I mean?
I get all that. I think though as well, and I totally get the anger towards the Premier League, because they've handled it horrendously. You've pointed it all out, you've made good points. I honestly don't think though there would be this much anger and bitterness towards the Premier League if Man City weren't in the shadows getting away with what they're getting away with.
Oh no, because there wouldn't, because it's the same thing around consistency though. We don't get why they have not.
But if you can just imagine a world for a minute where Man City have done everything properly and there's no 115 charges looming, and it was just a case of this Mashidi fella's come in, the club's been
no,
ran.
It's not just that, by the way. Not just that, because I know where you're going with it. The point is, there's no way of ever catching up with the Chelseas, the Man Uniteds, the Man Cities, the Liverpools, without spending a bit more money.
Of course, yeah.
Now the commercial side and the way, and what's unfair about FFP, and look, you can say what you want, like why are they changing the rules in August then? Changing the rules in August because the rules aren't fit for purpose.
No, I get
and
it.
they realise it's not giving any clubs a chance to ever catch up, because you can never gain that commercial revenue without getting to that position of people being willing to sponsor you for that amount of money.
Listen, I think we're in agreement with probably 90% of it. The only thing I think where we differ on is I don't think there's enough anger. Maybe there
couldn't have been any more anger towards our owners. You can't.
Not so much the owners though.
You can't say.
Not so much the owners though. It's obviously your owners, but I honestly, right, apart from the fans, which actually, listen, good mates. I've got loads of good mates who are Blues. Apart from the fans, who are the ones who are hard done by, everyone at that club, in any position of power, should be held accountable. Whether it's Mashiri,
I'm saying owners here. I'm talking the board, the executive team. Yeah,
whoever's making decisions on putting so and so on, 200-300, whatever they're
on.
They're
not though. They're all gone. That's the point. The people who made them decisions are all gone. That's what you can't like.
I seen a thing though on a podcast with Neville and Carragher saying that when they were going for their appeal, no one on the board even went to kind of defend the club.
Oh no, they did. Mashiri made an idiot of himself. He was there and made the most ridiculous comments that actually made them go, these definitely.
We needed a midfield. We needed a midfielder or something.
Yeah, so I had to just get a midfielder.
I just think, I agree with your points on the Premier League, but I also think Everton is just such a badly run club. Yeah, you could argue whether the 10 points are right or wrong. You could argue whether this, these new rules and how they've changed, how they're going to change again in 6 months. I get all that. I just think everyone associated with that club have just ruined it for themselves. Well, not for even for themselves.
They're not here though, Andy.
It's for the fans. They've ruined it for the fans.
But they're not here anymore. So like, what? Yeah.
But I know, but it's, honestly, mate, every agent, every player, everyone who signs off on this, signs off on that.
Is the kinds of the biggest factor, which has meant that we've been charged again. So the period that they're judging us on in that last period, so the last season, we would have been in a hugely more attractive position if the two main sponsors of the club wouldn't have been suspended because of a war that went on. It's like, come on, how can football be dragged into a political world war situation? I'm not talking about the owner here. I am. I'm talking about USM, who sponsored part of the stadium and the training grounds and all the facilities and whatever. They got, now it didn't get pulled, and this is the like moody bit about it. It didn't get said, right, USM been removed as your sponsor, go and replace them. We weren't allowed to replace them. It was suspended. So if we'd have replaced them as the sponsor, we'd have got sued by USM. So we weren't allowed to replace them. We get no money, and it's like, what? How is that fair?
So essentially, if Everton get relegated, it's Vladimir Putin's fault.
No, it's the Premier League's fault for completely disregarding anything that's real world. Like,
no, I get it. I'm joking, by the way, the Vladimir Putin show. But the other scary thing, which is potentially being your saviour, is 777. Apparently, they're pumping 20 million a month into the club to keep it afloat. The Premier League are still, iffy on whether they're going to give them the green light. And then I've seen that is it the founder and the owner? I've just left the positions as well. So this 777, it's not like, this...
Oh no, it's not the saviour, far from it. I mean...
And I'm just worried as well, they sound like cowboys already from giving the past from 20 years ago, drug running or whatever they were doing. Now apparently the two people in top positions have left the company. If they're just giving you willy-nilly 20 mil a month and then this doesn't get the green light,
the reason they're willy-nilly giving us 20 million, and it's a no-brainer for them.
But that's what I'm saying. But is that not going to just put everything in such a...
Oh yeah, it is,
horrible position,
and it's probably leveraged against the stadium company, as in to go like, well, that's the security that we'll be able to pay them loans. So, yeah, look,
listen, the sad thing is, mate, is all of this. It's the fans who are getting hurt.
Yeah,
no one else associated with that club. Are they that bothered?
Well, you'd imagine that the players, to a certain extent, are because
are they?
No, what I mean by that is, bear with me. If you've got like a 3 or 4 year contract on decent money, and you're probably thinking, I can't see myself getting decent money like that. And I'm not saying the players, by the way, who've been mercenaries. I'm talking about, I don't know, your James Tarkowski's or your Dwight McNeil's, the players who've actually come in and done a decent job. They're thinking, I actually like it here. I like being here, I like playing here. My career's actually progressing. I'm on good money. My family is settled. You can't tell me, look, these are normal human beings. If you're on good money and you think, it's like you're working for a company, you live in a great location, your kids are happy in school, you actually enjoy coming and playing for the club, you're enjoying your job every day, and you're thinking, oh, this means I might not have this job, or I might have to drop down, I might be on less money, I might have to, you know what I mean? So I think that
tinge of sadness that they'd get if they have to move on is nothing compared to what the fans are going to feel if that club goes into administration or gets relegated.
Oh yeah, no, I don't doubt that. Yeah.
And that's the thing that's really sad. And listen, Reds and Blues apart, I am genuinely like, nervous for you, because I listened on TalkSport today. There was a kind of financial fair play expert, and it'd be interesting to hear if anyone is listening to this, listen to that as well. I text you saying, are you listening to this?
I've seen the comment, and I've heard
it's scary.
I've heard the narrative around it. Yeah.
Well, this guy reckons that the appeal that you're trying to get on the first 10 points, he's like, I doubt you should even get any knocked off, maybe 1 or 2 points, if that. But he's like, I can't see why.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll be shocked, and I'll go on the record. I'll be shocked if we don't get 4 points knocked off.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Well, this guy apparently reckons 1 or 2 at most. He was then going on to say about this new charge. He's like, look, they've admitted it and all that again. It's bang on again. They're going to get docked again. And he said something about if you end up staying up, you possibly get done again next year or something.
Well, because and this is not if they change the rules. They're changing the rules in August. We wouldn't on that basis. But if these same rules remains, it's obviously based on your commercial income, of which we're struggling to make that commercial income because we lost big sponsors. So there's definitely a point, because if you think about it, our commercial income and our sponsorship income and everything that makes up the money that's coming in is then leveraged against your wages and your wage bill. If your wage bill stays as it is, now it's reduced slightly, but then your revenue... At one point
it was at 95%, it was.
Yeah, which is a really high... It wasn't the highest in the Prem, by the way. There was clubs that are higher than that, but it's a high ratio of wages against your income or whatever. But we've had both we've obviously had our commercial income reduced whilst the wages have remained pretty static, maybe reduced a little bit. But the rate that we've reduced our sponsorship and income has not been at the same rate that our wages have
come down. Yeah,
have come down. So he's probably not far wrong. I mean,
and like I say, if you listen to it and go back and look at the clips, it did sound pretty damning. The other sad thing, which again is a little bit further down the line, which we'll discuss more at another point, is he did go on to talk about Man City and the 115 charges, and without going on about it too much, he was basically saying, and he was a Man City fan himself, but he was basically saying that one, they'll either just get away with it, or if they don't, like, relegation will be the minimum, because it's like that big and that, you know. But the point he makes at, which is the really big point, is there's that many high level individuals, that many big businesses, and I'm talking like some of the biggest, most influential businesses and people in the world who are all conspiring in the sense of this fraud, basically, of businesses, right? We're getting sponsored from them, but they're getting money from them, we're getting money from them, and
it's like
it's all a big, monopoly of it.
Yeah.
This guy basically said it's going to take someone pretty special.
Yeah, it's like they're hiding money, aren't they? They're moving it. It's getting moved around that much that it's like you're tying us in knots.
It's going to take someone, pretty, ballsy to bring that down. And he's like, I don't know anyone who, because you'd be bringing down, Emirates, you'd be bringing down, not Emirates, who are Etihad, sorry. You'd be bringing down them, their company, their company, there. And the people involved in all these things, it's like a mafia. It'd be impossible. So he almost, without saying it, he almost was like, City probably have broken a few rules.
Yeah, but it's like having this global UN, if you like. Every nation opts into it around sustainability, blah blah blah, and you kind of got that, I suppose, with the green initiatives. And it's like going, we need to start cutting down and making sure that people aren't breaking these rules. Are you going to go and pick on Sudan and find them, or are you going to try and go after the US? It's like, we need to pick our time. Well, and I'm not suggesting it's that bang on.
Well, no, I was going to give the example of, I remember watching the Donald Trump election, and they were talking about, bringing down taxes and this and that. And there was a thing, and I paid more tax than Donald Trump. And it was that kind of thing of, if you're clever enough and you got that much money and you're in that much of a position of power, you do what the fuck you want. And it's like the little people who pay the way. And in this respect, Everton are like the little people, and it's Man City are just like going, well, you know what, come after us.
But back to your point, and I've kind of fought against that. I don't disagree that Everton deserve to be punished, and I don't disagree that the people in the positions that could have influenced this have not been ridiculously irresponsible and stupid and everything in between. I just, what frustrates me as a fan is not knowing the ins and outs of it, and not being given, here's a cheat sheet, by the way. So by the way, it's just so, even how amateur it was last week when it came out on Sky. They released a statement and then deleted it again, and then they had to change it, and then we got a statement from Everton and Forest before the Premier League even put theirs out. It's just,
and this
so
one where
amateur.
they've said, we've got a date for City, but we can't tell you.
Yeah. Why is all that, all that cloak and dagger stuff, and people going, so when's Everton's appeal going to be answered in the next few weeks? What?
And do you know what, mate? What we moans about, we're hypocrites ourselves. We've just spent 20 minutes talking about it. There's nothing about the fixtures this weekend. There's not about Everton going through in the FA Cup, and we rightly to talk about it. Yeah. But it's just shit.
Because why does it, like back to my point, the fans, why does it even matter? What's the point? What's the point in us even looking forward to this game as we got on? That's an important game, because you can just instantly get taken away from you. The same accounts for, Sheffield United, Burnley, Luton, thinking, we've got a chance to get out of jail. No, you haven't. They've reduced the... If Everton... It's almost worse, I think. If Everton get their 10 points reduced to 6, which, regardless of your expert, I believe that'll happen. And that'll probably almost... that'll almost state that the second one will have to be 6 points as well. We'll only be in a net worse position of another 2 points. And that probably means that they're not in, you know what I mean? So those three clubs are in limbo as well.
Mate, onto the footy for a minute. We've seen Jordan Henderson. Mission complete. He's brought eyes to the Saudi league. He's improved the Saudi league. He's had his play. And I see one tweet saying he's now off to Amsterdam to improve something like the drugs, or he's taking on the drugs or something in Amsterdam. I mean, do you know what? And I never slagged him at the time for going. I slagged him for not being honest. And that's all anyone can slag him about
now. Face now, isn't he?
That's all anyone can slag him for now. I mean, if he come out and said, I'm going there for the money because it's 300 grand a week tax free. That's why I'm going.
He's been left with major egg on his face now. I think he looks stupid.
Of course he does, but only because he lied. If he'd come out at the start when I'm going for 300 grand a week tax free, and then 6 months later he went, you know what, as great as the money is, my bird ate it, the kids ate it, I want to come home. You'd go, you know what, lads, fair play, you had to go. The fact he come out saying, I want to help grow the Saudi League.
And apparently he's now as well, if you believe what's true, one, he hasn't picked up any money yet because he was trying to avoid tax in the UK, so he's deferred his wages. I think apparently again, this is slightly unreliable, but, you know, believable, is that he'd said, look, I want my money tied up to some investments over there, which means that I'm not going to... Obviously, he's been advised on it, but because of the fact he's breached, or he said he wants out of his contract, apparently he might not even get a penny.
Do you know what? What a fall from grace that is. He's gone from being, you know, a local Sunderland lad, come through the ranks, got a big money move to Liverpool, won everything in the game you could possibly win. Captain his country. You know, supporter for gay rights and those on, you know, who have suffered inequality. And
6 months later, he's went to Saudi, got no money for it, and he ends up at Ajax in one of the worst leagues in Europe. In one of the worst Ajax teams ever seen. You just think, mate, what, over money? Yeah, I don't know. And it is over money, and you're right, that's the sad thing. Very amusing thing for me, because I hate him. And I can't get any tickets anymore. But yeah, massive fall from grace. And the other thing who's had a fall from grace, which is ironic because I mentioned them last week in my top 3 managers, is Jose Mourinho gets sacked. I'm like, it goes Ferguson, Klopp, got manager of the month. It's like the manager of the month awards, and he just got sacked. I mean, look, it's in keeping with his last 3 positions. I think he's got a bit fed up. He gets into the habit of starting to slag the players off. You know, look, the thing, what gave him his initial success is also the thing that's ended up being his greatest strength, his biggest weakness, isn't it? It is, because he's so honest and so passionate and whatever, and the modern footballer has evolved so quickly now, and the position of power has shifted, you know, from being the manager, being the big cheese, being this my way. I think people have caught up as well, though, you know, as in, like, tactics have changed and evolved. You got this new manager, like, you know, the likes of Klopp, Guardiola, Brighton's manager, you know, there's even Brentford's manager, just so many good young managers. But the ironic thing is, Jose Mourinho's tactical strength was always his off the ball work, you know, the kind of intricacies of what his players do when they haven't got the ball, and that's actually where the game has developed more. And it's just he hasn't really updated that kind of that off the ball work. But he's someone, again, won Everton in a game. I mean, it's sad to see one of the greats come to an end. I actually wasn't looking forward to them clips coming out. I thought, I'm going to get ripped or you're going to get ripped, and everyone was pretty much in agreement where they may have enjoyed this. Yeah, definitely. Definitely food for thought for a lot of the stuff we've debated there. And as always, let us know your thoughts. It'd be good to hear from you. Hope you enjoyed it. Patreon, we'll be giving you your betting tips next week. We won last week. We got the double in. Actually, really sad the guy died, didn't he? My God, Bolton fan. We had Bolton in the bet. Disgusting bit of journalism from the Sun as well. Did you see that? Horrible, yeah. What did it say? Something like fans... Basically, fan ruins the game or something like that. Like, so I'd put Bolton in the bet in the treble. Bolton game got interrupted. The fan took ill. Turned out he sadly passed away. And then the scum newspaper basically had to pop at him. But anyway, it meant we got the double in, paid out, and there'll be more bets coming to you on Saturday if you're on Patreon. And yeah, see you next week.